Hey guys, I'm gonna go ahead and guess that a lot of you have probably been watching the fantastic documentary on Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls called The Last Dance. Absolutely incredible. And if you haven't, don't worry, this is about entrepreneurship. But the thing is, Michael and some of the people speaking about him made one of the most incredible points that I've ever heard in my entire life, especially for succeeding in something like entrepreneurship. They were talking about Michael, and they were talking about it was really something inside of his head, how he treated the moment, his psychology, his competition, his competitive spirit. Was something in there that made him so great. Because there's really nobody else in the entire NBA that had his physical traits. That's preposterous. And they were saying what Michael did, his superpower, Michael Jordan's superpower, was that he never projected his past onto his future. Let me let that sink in. He never projected his past onto his future. Now, we talk about being present all the time these days, but let's think about that. Being present is awesome. Being present is great. Big fan. I think it's a great concept. Is it possible to be entirely present, like 100%? Let's imagine that you were walking up to a staircase, a very steep downhill staircase, and you were perfectly present. Can you really take a step onto that staircase without any part of your brain projecting at all what's going to happen in the future? Now imagine you're Michael Jordan. You're about to take a basketball shot. That's what's happening right now in the present. You still have to project what might happen to some extent. You can't stay fully present because you need the ball to travel and go into the hoop. So now what? The key is not projecting your past onto your future means that you can say, in this moment, I have more training, more experience than ever before in my entire life. I am better prepared right now for this than I ever was before. And you can take that shot and you can realize that perhaps if you're Michael Jordan, or maybe if you're another NBA player, it doesn't matter that Michael's there if you're another player. Maybe the past of you losing to Michael doesn't matter. If you are Michael, everything that happened earlier in the game, everything that might have happened at some other point, it doesn't matter. Right now, you might be the best in the world at taking that shot. So why project any of the past into it? Now again, we're here to talk about entrepreneurship, how you break through, what that means to your motivation, to sticking through it. Think of being an entrepreneur. Now you're probably listening to this because you're either thinking of starting and something about that is scary to you, or there's a worry, there's an anxiety, something about that is hanging you up. Or you've already started and you're hitting some sort of blockage. You're not making a profit. You're trying a bunch of stuff and it's not clicking. You can't scale. Maybe you're going through a hard time with everything that's going on in the world. Whatever it might be, there's something from your past, even if you haven't started, there's something else from your past that you're projecting into your future as to whether or not you could succeed if you did start as an entrepreneur. If you already have started, now think about that. Now you're in a scenario where you're projecting what's happened to you before outside of entrepreneurship and the other things that have also happened to you before in entrepreneurship. You're now projecting that into whether or not you can succeed. Either way, those anxieties, those fears, those worries about what to do next, that's all coming from projecting the past onto the future. If you haven't started a business but you're nervous about it, well, why? You haven't done it, right? It's because something else happened. Your friend started a business and it went terribly. You tried something in high school, it didn't go well. You tried something recently. Maybe you had a job where you had a function that was similar to what you would like to do in entrepreneurship and that didn't go well. Or if you are an entrepreneur, you've tried all these things. You've listened to all the speakers and implemented what they said, and that didn't go well. You've tried a bunch of things, retail arbitrage, selling on Amazon, Shopify, etc., etc., etc. None of that worked. So now it becomes, well, why would this thing work? Well, if I do that, that's probably not going to work. I don't know about doing this thing. It makes me nervous. Then you drag your feet. That's all projecting the past into the future. Maybe it's, I would love it if what this guy is saying, if building scalable relationships was the key to business, because I could do that. I would love it if. That's projecting the past into the future. Why if? Why would? Because you're projecting some other past experience into saying, I just don't feel that this is the thing that breaks it through. But here's another thing that Michael Jordan said that was so critical. He said it all started with a match. There was a match. He didn't say what it was. Was it bringing Michael Jordan to the Bulls? Probably in his mind it was, listening to him. Maybe it was bringing Phil Jackson, the coach. Maybe it was something even simpler before all of that. That one match started the whole thing. Now let's think about Airbnb. I don't know if you know this story or not, but Airbnb, the guys who started it, they were doing terribly. They were struggling to get by. No one would give them any money. Nothing was working. Now, they had tried all this stuff. It was their full-time effort. If they projected everything that they had tried that did not work, if they had started projecting that into their future, now what? Are they going to do anything? Is anything going to come through? Probably not. And here's the thing, there was a match. They looked at Craigslist and they said, what if we make a thing where when somebody posts to Airbnb, it automatically takes that and posts it onto Craigslist. So that when somebody sees that on Craigslist, they learn about Airbnb and maybe they even come over to Airbnb and use it. Well, there's millions of people using Craigslist, and there weren't that many people using Airbnb. So they did this thing, and that was the match. That changed everything. The company blew up. They got money. They got enough money to do everything that they needed to do. Now you know who they are. You quite possibly even use them, or your friends almost certainly do, one or the other, for a reason. Right? Why were they able to do that? Because they didn't say, we're not going to try this thing because the other things in our past didn't work. They didn't let that reason be a reason to give up. They didn't let that be a reason not to do a thing. And in fact, I would guess that they went just as full-heartedly into that new idea as they had into the other ones. And that's really where the key comes in, because think about it. You should be more capable right now than at any point in your past. You know more, you've seen more, you've got more experiences. Okay, maybe you can't do a high jump better than you could in the past. I know I can't. But other than that, you should be more capable. Look at the list of billionaires in the world. They're all in their late 30s, their 40s, even later. Why? Because at 20, they weren't capable enough to be a billionaire, not yet. Granted, there have been situations where people have become billionaires young. Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook. My friend Kevin Systrom, I think he was about a billionaire starting Instagram, and I think he was about 28 when he became a billionaire. Starting Instagram and selling that. Depends on how you do the calculations of when he sold stock, blah, blah, blah. But has that even happened in the last 5 years? I think Kylie Jenner's about the only one, and you know, she wasn't exactly a zero to billionaire type story. But then you look at the broader world. Why don't you see the people that you know who are over 35 and 40 suddenly doing these great things? They're more capable. It obviously happens for billionaires. Why is it not happening to the average person? Because they also have more past. They have more experiences, more letdowns, more reasons, more things that happened to them that were bad that they're now projecting into the future. So now they're like, I'm not going to do that because of this. That scares me because of that. Why would I try this new thing because of this? Why would the Airbnb guys have tried the Craigslist thing that made them billionaires if they thought that way? That would have been a multi-billion-dollar mistake to project that past onto their future. It's big. It's that big of a difference. So think about that. You're more capable right now of doing anything that you look around and see in the world than you ever have been in the past. That should be one of the most empowering things that you've ever thought about. Anything that you're looking at doing, you are more capable of doing right now. That is more possible for you than it ever was before. If you don't project your past onto it. Whatever you're considering doing, think about me even making this video. I am more capable now of making this video and inspiring people and connecting with you and forming a relationship with you than I was yesterday. But what if I project some other video that I made that didn't land onto this one? Now what happens? Can't do it. I am more capable now than I ever was before, and I need to simply project that into the future. When I look at an opportunity, I am more capable of doing that thing than at any time in the past. I should feel more empowered about that. I should be more willing to try it. That's it. That should change your life. That should be one of the craziest things you've ever heard. That should be one of the coolest things you've ever heard. Certainly was for me. That's why Michael Jordan can take that shot and think, I'm more capable now of making this shot than I ever was before. And carry that into the shot. Now what do you think his chances of making that shot are? Just going up and up and up and up and up. Okay, maybe you've tried something, listened to somebody who told you something like this before and it didn't work out for you. Have you tried making scalable relationships with customers, using scalable tools, and knowing how people form relationships and how to do that before? Because if you haven't, why would you project other experiences onto whether or not that will work, onto whether or not your life will change from that? Because that's the big one, really. If you talk to a bunch of people, they're like, ugh, man, maybe I could see that thing working, but I just don't believe it would change my life. Why? Because other things that they thought they would change their life before in the past didn't. They thought this other thing would change their life and it did not. So, this thing's not going to. Past projected onto the future. Or, you could think it just takes a match. One thing. One thing changed everything for me in business. I saw that every successful business that wasn't in commodities had a way to form relationships with customers and scale them. And then despite everything I'd been through, I didn't project and say because those things didn't work, this isn't going to either. I just tried it. I said, I'm more capable of doing this now than I ever have been. Who cares about the past? I'm not going to do the exact same things that I did in the past. That's not learning. But this is different, and I did it, and it changed everything for me. And it can change everything for you, and this mindset can change your whole life. Stop projecting your past into the future. Stop projecting your past into the future. Stop projecting your past into the future. If you haven't done that thing, then you're more capable now of doing it than ever before. So that might be the match for you. That might be the match for you. That might be the match for you. Guys, that might be the match for you. And you're more capable now than you ever were before doing it.